Hey guys, and welcome to the Nashville for Nobodies podcast. I am your host, Bobby Gordon, along with my co-host,
Kyle Therky, and we're going to be talking about the Nashville music scene and the ins and outs of Lower Broadway and a bunch of other random stuff that comes to mind.
So if you're thinking about Nashville or new to Nashville and want to wrap your head around what's going on, this might be a great place to start.
Take a listen. What's going on, everybody? It's Kyle Therky with Nashville for Nobodies.
And Bobby Gordon, and we have bright lights.
We have very bright lights.
I feel like Gizmo from Gremlins.
Bright lights. Look, man, we had to. I was doing video editing these last two times, and I don't know anything about video editing, guys. I don't know anything about video production, nothing. This is all a learning curve for me. So if you've watched the last two videos, thank you so much. I appreciate it. But also, if you noticed in those two videos, the light kept changing. Like anytime y'all would turn your faces.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
It was adjusting the light on the camera.
Oh, shit.
And I did turn off that whole like autofocus thing, so it shouldn't be doing that anymore. But also, I just eliminated that by buying lights, which I needed to do anyways. So hopefully I don't have to spend any more money on this studio. I'm fucking over it. I'm so fucking over it.
If you would like to sponsor this podcast, please let us know.
Please fucking sponsor us. I would love that so much.
That would be really cool. But yeah, no, I was walking through Walmart when you sent me that text, and you were like, 20 hours. Edited the video for 20 hours.
Look, man, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
So there were a lot of things that I had to go look up and learn and watch, and I didn't know how to like clear out old whatever the fuck the clips are called that are like stuck in the iMovie thing. Cause I'm still using iMovie because I downloaded other software, but it's way more confusing. And I was like, okay, at least I know how to use this right now. So let's use this. And then on my days off, let's go to learning like DaVinci and the other fucking Adobe, I think is the other one that I downloaded. So, have I touched either one of those? No, I just keep doing more and more research on fucking iMovie.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, it took me 20 hours, and that was like had to step away because things were loading. This was right. It wasn't just me sitting at the computer for 20 hours. It was just the whole process of letting things load, and then me editing everything, and then the whole having to look up videos on YouTube on how to edit videos for YouTube. So it was a learning process, but
You're going to be a pro though.
I got it figured out. Well, the second video took me fucking like an hour. So I think I had a pretty significant
clear improvement right
there. Doing pretty good.
So other than that, how was your week?
Yeah.
Moving on then.
No, my week was good. I went to WWE Monday Night Raw with Noah Garner.
Did you stay for that one?
Yes, that was actually planned, and I made sure there were no fucking gigs. Okay, but if you guys can see, we have a nice Nashville Predators belt right there, and then also next to our Nashville Predators belt, we do have a guest. We have Gert Arwood. I said that right, please?
Yes.
Yes, I said it right.
He nailed it.
I just met him today, like literally when he walked into my house. So welcome to the shit show.
Thank you so much, boys. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's awesome to have another bass player back on. It's been a little while since we've had a bass player. I feel.
Yeah, I don't remember the last bass player we had.
We've had drummers. We've had artists. Drummers and artists.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
We're a mighty few. Few.
Bobby booked you today, so that's why. I don't like really communicate and hang out and see other bass players.
Right.
So like I'm thinking of like artists and guitar players and drummers.
For sure. Yeah.
And so when he said a bass player, I was like, fuck yeah, let's go.
I love it.
So you've been here, you said 6 years?
Yes. I've been here 6 years, going on 7. I moved to Nashville in, I want to say August 2018. As you can see, I'm kind of repping my alma mater. I'm a Belmont graduate.
Belmont? Okay, you can get out of my house now.
Oh, come on.
Hey, man.
It's just because y'all are smarter than me, okay? And I know it. I'm aware.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
It would have only taken him 18 hours to figure out how to edit the video.
He would have been like, actually, here, I can do this in 35 seconds. I'm like, well, fuck me. Okay.
I had this class for 4 semesters.
Yeah.
But so you're a bass player and you're also starting to do like, is it a solo artist type thing or?
Yeah. So I've been working mostly just as a full-time bass player and arranger and songwriter for the last 6 years. But as of this past October, I actually started on my solo artist journey. I've been writing for myself since probably 2021, early 2022. And this was the year where I kind of was like, fuck it, now is as good a time as any, you know?
Right.
And
If you don't ever start, you'll never start.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah, but I love the music I've been making. I cannot wait to talk about it here and start sharing it with the world. Yeah.
Well, tell us about your music, man. Like, so what kind of music is it? What are you doing?
So I feel like you ask any artist that, it kind of gets into the weeds a little bit, but I my best answer is that it's all kind of rooted in rock. I grew up really big into like 90s alternative and funk rock.
Hell yeah.
Being a bass player, I was a huge Chili Peppers kid.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm a bass player and I am the opposite. I was
really?
like, I can't fucking do that. Never.
But yeah, the Chili Peppers were like my ride or die band from probably ages 14 to 17, where I learned every single song I could get my hands on. And I think that definitely provided the framework for when I became a songwriter, where that direction went, where it's all kind of very riffy, kind of like real like stuff you can definitely bump to, but just the bass player in me just kind of adds a little bit of funk and soul in that, because I also grew up listening to Al Green and Bill Withers and a lot of these old soul artists. And I grew up playing a lot of jazz music and funk music. And so I think just that want to groove and really express in that way too is very present in the music I make too. So I kind of call it soul rock or funk rock, somewhere in that intersection.
So it's soulful, but it's angry.
A little bit, yeah. A little bit, yeah.
So, was bass your first instrument?
No, actually, it was. I think bass was technically my third. So I started playing guitar first in probably 5th grade. There was a guitar class that I had in elementary school.
That's cool.
And then yeah, the only thing though is I'm a lefty, and they only had right-handed guitars in the class. So I
set up for failure.
Set up for failure a little bit, but yeah. So I kind of have that unique experience of being a lefty playing as a righty. But
So do you currently play right-handed?
I do, yes. I never relearned how to play lefty. I got so ingrained in it from that point on that every time I picked up a left-handed instrument since, I look like just a fucking chump.
You're like, I don't know what the hell this is.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah.
I get it.
But my second instrument was actually trumpet, and I still play trumpet to this day.
Okay.
In fact, most of the horns on my own solo projects are me. I'm just laying down trumpet, and I do have a friend named Jack Warren who I've known since high school, who's an amazing sax and woodwind player here in town.
Oh, that's cool.
That also plays all the horn arrangements with me on my solo stuff. But that's a little fun fact, is just, that second instrument is one that I still play to this day. But bass came into the picture probably a year after I started playing the trumpet. My middle school's jazz band was looking for a bass player, and because I had that guitar experience, I was like, maybe I can pick it up, and ended up talking to my dad. Little backstory, I'm actually a 3rd generation musician.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, my grandfather was the lead trombone player in the Army Blues for about 30 years, and made his full living doing that. And in addition, my dad was a sound engineer growing up, and is amazing singer, can play guitar, drums, a few horns here and there. And my aunt was actually a songwriter for many years in town here. But so coincidentally, my granddad had an old bass laying around. It was like some shitty P bass ripoff, like some baby blue thing with like one knob, and it was broken all to hell and everything. But we fixed it up best we could, and I played on that for a few months, just getting my bearings. And I think that Christmas I ended up getting a jazz bass and never looked back.
So when you started music, what was the like overall reaction with your family? Did they push you into music? Was it just kind of always there and that was just kind of a thing that you were gonna do? Or was it like you picked up your instrument and they were like, ah, damn it, here we go. Well, let's make sure we do it right.
Well, I guess adding on to the point of, coming from a musical family, it was very much supported. And once they saw that it was a passion that I was willing to foster, they definitely encouraged me just to go for it. I think around the time I was probably like 14 or 15, I had pretty much had my mind made up that, this was the direction that I wanted to take. And, I am just blessed beyond belief to have the parents I do, because they did then and they still do now. They've supported me, through thick and thin. And,
See, I had the exact opposite experience because my dad was a drummer.
Yeah.
And he toured and worked his whole life as a drummer from 21 until a few years before he passed. And then I started and he was just kind of like, fuck, this is a horrible idea. Don't do it. I mean, I'm going to help you and give you advice, but you should really do anything else.
Yeah. It's a tough industry. It is a cutthroat industry for sure.
It's definitely, and I've said it a dozen times, if you don't love it, don't do it.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? This is the easiest industry I've ever been in. Everybody's so nice and they help each other out and they give each other advice and they take care of No, this is a cutthroat fucking industry, y'all. Yeah. It sucks.
There are a lot of nice people in our circle.
I will say, out of all the musician communities that I have interacted with, Nashville has definitely been like the most tight knit and welcoming and helpful. All the other ones, it's like, oh, you're an artist? Oh, you're a band? Ah, it's competition.
Yeah.
Where they're like, people will still like talk to you, be friends with you, but you're still competition.
Yeah.
Where here, it's not so much that way unless you're like on Music Row and but even those people, the ones that I've come across are not.
Well, I know not so much when I first moved here, but now, like, if you're an asshole, you don't last very long.
No.
People are way more, like, finicky about that kind of shit. That used to, like, it was all the assholes and then everybody else trying to fight for a spot.
Well, because used to, only so many people had the talent to do what this town requires. Where now everybody has that talent.
Right.
You can so easily be replaced. You pick up a fucking rock and throw it, you're gonna hit another guitar player, another singer, another bass player, another drummer.
Right.
So where before it wasn't quite that way.
And now we've got all the stages to support a shit ton of musicians.
Now we have too many fucking stages and DJ booths that are turned into stages.
It is an oversaturated market for sure right now in 2025. So.
Well, I mean, Broadway. Let's be real, it's just
Broadway.
Yeah, it's the very tourist heavy strip of the city. That like you go down there, that's everywhere you look. There's a different band playing.
On the bright side, because there are now this mass quantity of musicians and stages. Different genres of music are getting a lot more representation than when I moved here.
I'm dubbing you Mr. Brightside today. I'm going to put that above your head. Just Mr. Brightside.
Okay. That makes me sound way more positive than I feel right now.
Yeah.
So I didn't take my meds today, so I'm just kind of like, ADHD, man. Whew.
Yeah. All right, so you went from guitar to trumpet to bass, and then you're like, all right, so bass is the instrument. That It's where you felt the most comfortable. It's what you liked the most.
Absolutely. I think that I think that anybody who gets really passionate about in this case playing an instrument or doing music in some way knows that there is a particular feeling with your primary instrument that I think cannot be replicated on something else.
Oh yeah,
And-
you connect with it.
yeah.
100%.
And something about the bass from the second I started playing it just felt like hell yeah. Like I felt very much at home with that instrument. I felt like just something about it spoke to me in a way that, as much as I love trumpet didn't speak to me. And as much as I, loved guitar and learning, that instrument, guitar just didn't speak to me in that way. And as soon as I picked up the bass, there was a thing where it was just like, okay, this feels different. So, so I just rolled with it, and 12 years later.
Hell yeah, man. I feel that sentiment. I do. My brother had a guitar, and I would always pick it up and try to play on it and try to learn it and learn the little riffs. And
Right.
it just, I wasn't good at it. It didn't make sense to me. I played clarinet and saxophone prior to that.
Mhm.
And when I picked up a bass, it was the same thing. I was like, oh, this feels right.
Yeah.
Like something about it just
Like warm and
felt-
fuzzy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
warm and fuzzy.
Does any bass player pick up the bass first? I don't know that I've heard of any bass player that was just like, oh, I choose bass first.
That's actually a very good point. I don't think I've met a single bass player.
We can put that question out there. We can find
If
out.
you are a
this-
bass player that started with I want to play bass, got a bass, and are a bass player, and that's been like your primary instrument the whole time, let us know, because I can't think of a single person I know that wasn't like, well, actually, I started as blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I don't remember because it's been so long since we interviewed him. But was Logan a bass player first?
I don't remember. I feel like he said something like, and then I picked up a bass. Because didn't he have a similar story where like he played on his brother's guitar or somebody's guitar first?
Man, we've interviewed so
Dude,
many
I
people
don't
now I
know.
don't remember. Now I kind of regret even asking that question.
Right? He's gonna listen to this and be like, did y'all even pay attention to me? Do you even know me?
Well, I'm trying to get him back in here in the next couple weeks, so we'll re-ask him again.
Yes, yes.
Refresh our memory. Were you? But yeah, now I'm writing that question down because now I
that's a
want to
good one.
know.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of bass players that started as drummers, and I mean that correlation
really?
makes so much sense.
Yeah.
But I also know a lot that were like, well, I picked up guitar, and
Mm-hmm.
then somebody made me play bass out of necessity, and then I never left.
Yeah. What I feel like is a weirdly common one is bass players who played trumpet at some point
Mhm.
too, because kind of bringing back that Chili Peppers connection. Flea was a trumpet player
Yeah.
first, and then he picked up a bass, a little later in his teens. But yeah, that's a weirdly common one too, where I've met a lot of bass players that are like, oh no way, I play trumpet too. So that's like a weird connection where it's like, the highest of high instruments and the lowest of low instruments.
And I know that like a lot of people started their musical journey off like in like school bands, so they picked
Right.
up like
Yeah.
a brass instrument before anything else.
For
Like,
sure.
I originally wanted to go towards percussion and drums, and they were like,
Right.
absolutely not. You have no rhythm. Yet here I am as a fucking bass player. So
Yeah, and I think the connection of my granddad being a career trombonist was a big factor in that too. I remember, I definitely remember being interested in brass just at the onset, just because of my granddad's legacy and my family, and I'm just thinking it was so cool that he was able to do what he did on that instrument, and yeah, so I think that was the motivation from that point, but yeah, just kind of, I guess, circling back, some about the bass, man. Something about the bass. It just spoke to me in a.
So after you
different
picked
way.
up a bass, how long until you started like playing in bands and playing with other people, like outside of like the school stuff?
I feel like it was a pretty quick turnaround. I remember as early as probably I was probably in 8th grade, so I was probably 14. I started playing at 12. And by 14 I was just sitting in with bands just around upstate South Carolina where I grew up. And by the time I was in high school, I was going out to like the bigger cities around the area and just doing like little like bar gigs and just playing a bunch of blues and rock and country music. And, you know, and, you know, at the same time, I was really active in my school's jazz ensembles and everything. I did a fall sport, so I never ended up marching or anything. But
marching band was so fun.
I heard so many good things, but I was a swimmer amongst all of that too. So I had to kind of pick one or the other there, and I was like, I'm a little bit more interested in jazz anyway. So I ended up kind of going that direction.
Fair enough.
So. But yeah, no, there's definitely a long history of me from a young age, you know, kind of just sitting in where I can and just, you know, playing with professional musicians. Cause I mean, in my opinion, I think that's the best education you can get as a young musician is just being the worst player in a room. Just surrounded by people you look up to.
I always used to say before I moved to Nashville that I love being the worst player on stage because I learn a lot faster.
Oh, of course. Of course.
But now I need the money. So if one of you guys could be worse than me sometimes, that'd be great.
Yeah. I same thing. When I hit Broadway, I was by far the worst musician. Really, every band I've been with in Nashville up until the last like couple of years, I was always the worst musician on stage. And I learned so much from every gig, from all these people listening, learning, just being open-minded. Just how the hell can I get more gigs? What are y'all doing that I'm not? What do I need to learn? How do I need to do things? You know, and so, yeah, where prior to that, and that's one reason why we do this podcast is to give people insight and kind of show them a way to navigate this music industry here in Nashville.
Yeah.
And that it really is like getting out there, like anything else, like going out and doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You can watch a million videos, but until you actually do it,
Right.
you're not going to learn something. So yeah, jumping in with people and doing all that, especially at a young age, like doing that shit in high school.
Yeah.
I'd have never done that. I had to like go home and practice with my band. Like we wouldn't do a show until we had so many practices or rehearsals under our belt. So that I commend you for that because it's nerve wracking.
Oh, absolutely. I thank you for saying that. Yeah. But I mean, in my opinion and in my experience, like nothing makes you feel like you need to get your act together more than eating shit on a gig.
Yeah.
Like, accurate.
Yeah.
Like I've had some duds in the 12 years that I've been playing. And those are the ones I learned from. And I'm like, okay, I need to step my game up because I want to, you know, perform at the highest level I possibly can. And I want longevity. I want to be able to continue to do this. And so don't discount the bad gigs because those are usually the ones that are going to teach you the most.
Well, and I mean, to rip off Victor Wooten, music is a language, and you don't learn to talk when you're a baby by talking to other babies. You learn to talk by talking to adults who know how to talk.
Yeah, it's the same philosophy with going to a foreign country that speaks a different language than your own. You can take all the Spanish classes in the world, but nothing's going to be a better teacher than going to, a country in South America or over to Spain and just, being just a functioning human being and interact with other Spanish speaking people. I think it's the same philosophy with music that nothing's going to teach you more than just speaking as a bass player than, just locking in with a drummer on a song or just like, really keeping my ears open to like what the guitar player's doing, what the keys players are doing, what the singer's doing.
Why isn't what I'm doing working?
Yes.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's a huge learning curve, but I mean, Wooten definitely.
He really has some of the best advice. Like that dude, and he knows what he's doing. He's had a great career.
Right.
He's played with everybody on all kinds of stages all over the world. I mean,
absolutely.
He's incredible.
Yeah. No, this is probably not an unpopular opinion as a bass player, but definitely one of my biggest inspirations for sure.
When I first moved here, I discovered him just a few years prior to moving here. And when I moved here and found out that he was based here, I dug more into his career and started learning from his ways. And watching him and listening to him, I became so much more relaxed as a player. And because he's like, look, you're going to fuck up. You're going to play wrong notes and do the wrong things. He's like, just make it work.
Absolutely.
He's like, just make it work.
Yeah. And it's really cool seeing somebody as just as much of a singular talent as he is, almost just as a listener and a fellow musician, almost kind of give you the permission of just being like, make mistakes, like, give yourself the opportunity to learn from the folks around you, because that's going to teach you more than sitting in a practice room ever will. And yeah, I feel blessed that I've gotten to meet Victor a few times now.
I'm jealous. I still haven't met him.
I went to one of his camps at Berklee College of Music in high school, and then being a Belmont student, the chair of the bass department at Belmont, Roy Vogt, who was my teacher for many, many years.
Roy is an amazing human being.
Amazing. One of my favorite people, bar none. He's incredible.
Side note, I was in conversation with him or in contact with him for years on Facebook, and we never met in person.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of the bass hangs, I believe, that we were at. I'd never met him in person. I'd only seen a few pictures of him, seen a bunch of videos and stuff.
Right.
And he just walks up to me and just introduced himself. And I think we had only been doing the podcast for maybe like 6 months. Okay. And he was listening and just had nothing but nice things to say. He was a super nice guy.
Well, that's so awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. So.
Yeah, no, Roy was my teacher for all 3.5 years that I was at Belmont, and he's just an amazing teacher, an amazing human being. Learned so much from him. But the first week I was at Belmont, actually, so just a little backstory. Roy and Victor have been friends for a very long time. In fact, I think there's a story that Victor told about when he first moved to Nashville and he was trying to work as a bass player and get more connected in the industry. Folks told him to find Roy Vogt and that he would kind of help him, start to get the ball rolling. But anyway, Roy told us that Victor had a special taping at Wooten Woods, which is his little private sanctuary that he has for music camps and stuff like that, a little bit outside of Nashville. And the bass department all had like a special invitation to go.
Oh, that's cool.
And so it was literally just like the first week of college, and I just like drove out there and just got to witness like one of my favorite bass players doing his thing. And I'd say it's a very inspiring way to start off, your music school, your music school experience of just watching one of your heroes do your thing in real time. And met him there and met him a few months afterwards. I met up with Roy at a Wooten Brothers show, and he introduced me to Victor there as well. And just the nicest human, so much wisdom. Just
bet we could get him on the podcast.
Who, Roy or Victor?
Both, but I was talking about Victor.
I wouldn't know what to say half the time. I'd just be like, yeah.
Yeah, I play bass.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of backtracking a little bit. What was it like making the decision to go to school? Because we talked about this, I think, last week or the week before on the podcast. Is like when you're thinking about college and you want to play music, there's like this friction of, well, I can go to school for music, but a degree in music is only really valuable if you're teaching. It doesn't really help if you're gigging.
Definitely.
So like what was your mindset when you were thinking about school and going to school?
I think going to school as a musician, I think it's one of those things where it is a very singular experience to the student, right? Meaning that, some students want to get there and just get as much as they can out of that 4 years, whether that's playing or producing or songwriting, what have you. And some people, will just go to start to kind of get that network established, kind of build that community. I've heard some people recommend just to go there for a semester or two, then
meet everybody and then leave.
Meet everybody and then just kind of like go about your own way, save yourself from some student loans and, stuff like that. But I think I don't really think there's necessarily a wrong way to go about it. I just think it's whatever you feel like you need as a creative and a musician. But for me, I think that my original intention of going to music school was just being the best bass player I could and just setting myself up to have a full-time career just playing bass for folks. Just because that's what all my heroes did. Obviously I have history, like I have family history of, folks in my world being successful doing that. And so that was the primary goal in going. But I think now, having graduated from college and having that music school degree, the biggest takeaway that I had from those 4 years was the community that I built. And it's, y'all were talking about like, the things that are very unique to Nashville as a music city compared to like your New York or your LA. And it's a very mutually supportive town in a lot of ways. Like, don't get it twisted. It is a very tough, cutthroat industry, but among the right people, you're all just kind of trying to help each other up the ladder. And, being surrounded by people my age that were all just hungry to do the same thing that I was doing in some way, shape, or form. And, being able to grow with them and see all of our progressions over the past 6 years is really something special. And so I think that's what I hold on to most from my college experience. But I think the decision to go primarily was just because I loved bass playing so much, and I was like, I want to set myself up.
You wanted to be the best player that you could be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so follow-up question. Is there anything you can think of that you learned in school that you either wouldn't have learned if you'd have just jumped into a gig, or that it would have taken you significantly longer to learn? And it can be music education or just like the social etiquette of being a musician.
I think that I think that the standard of going to music school, I guess before I answer this, I should probably explain like what exactly I studied. So I was a commercial music major at Belmont University, and my emphasis area was in bass performance. And so I literally just went to school to study how to play bass as well as I could. And so my classes were very much just pertaining to the technical aspects of playing the bass.
All the things I never learned how to do.
And so I got to jump into just every genre under the sun, study with some of the best players in the world, study some of the best bass lines and like some of the biggest bass legacies that are out there, and I'm so grateful for that. But I think the biggest takeaway that I had, I think, just kind of comes back to just in those situations where I was playing with other people my age and just very much cutting my teeth, doing all that stuff. And I think it was the social etiquette that I really picked up on there of, the things that are going to get you longevity isn't how fast you can play, isn't how many, like how much cool shit you can do on the bass. It's showing up, being prepared, and not being a dick. That was my biggest education into just going there, which I don't know. When I came to college, I was a very shy and timid kid. So like, I didn't really make a habit of running my mouth much at all.
Right.
But I definitely played with enough people who didn't get called back to know that
To figure out why.
To figure out why. Yes. And like you said, Nashville, most of the artists I play with in town are very good about just like if there is somebody that etiquette wise and behavior wise that is just not meeting the standard or the expectation, they're gone.
Mhm.
Like you don't play with those people really anymore.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I was having a conversation just on the way to the studio today, talking to a drummer who's meeting up with another musician, and he's like, "Yeah, he's starting to lose a lot of gigs, and he doesn't know why." And I was like, "I can tell you why." I told him exactly why. I was like, it's his attitude.
Yeah.
I was like, it's his responses and his attitude.
Right.
I was like, he's a great player. He'll play anything. He'll show up and do everything he's supposed to for every gig. It's like, but when things don't go his way or he hears a song request that he doesn't like, you can see it on his face.
Yeah.
And like, so if you say something to him and he doesn't like it, he makes it known. And that's just one of those things, like, people don't want tension on stage.
Of course.
You could be the best player in the world, but they just don't want the tension. So it's just show up, do your job. Don't be a dick. You want to bitch to people when you get home, to your friends? Fine.
Mm-hmm.
On stage, man, you're doing a job. Just shut up, smile, do your job. I say this all the time. It's less than 1% of the world that gets to do what we do.
Right.
Like, play music every day for a living.
Yeah.
It's less than 1% of the population of the world gets to do what we do. We're lucky. If you're on stage bitching about it, you don't need to be there.
Yeah.
No, and they'll take the mediocre player with a great attitude every day
Yeah.
of the week.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Every day of the week.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, like, and I'll say that to say that I've always felt like I've carried myself in a professional way, but I feel like no one's track record is perfect. I mean, like I've certainly lost a couple gigs here and there, just and I always walked away from those situations just being like, okay, well, like why didn't I get called back, or why, what could I have done a little bit better? And sometimes it has to do with like we were talking about, sometimes it just has to do with attitude and character.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like you said right there, one of the biggest things is a lot of people don't know how to self-reflect.
Yes.
They would much rather put it on, oh, my gear didn't work, or this sound engineer gave me a terrible mix, or this and that.
Right.
It's really, no, it was on you. Look at what you were doing, how you were acting, how you were behaving, how you were look at every aspect of that gig with the spotlight on you, and you'll find out real quick why you didn't, or why you lost that gig. It's it's self-reflection. Like you gotta be able to look at yourself instead of putting the blame onto everybody else.
Absolutely. And yeah, and I think just for whatever reason, it being character, attitude, it being punctuality, it can be something as simple as just like it just doesn't feel like the best fit with the artist. Like I've been turned away from a gig or two before just because like my general aesthetic and my general vibe just was not a great match for the artist that I was playing with. And that's totally okay. Like I think that a lot of times it's, it almost feels a little oxymoronic just calling music a business, but in what we do, it is very much a business.
Yeah.
And a lot of these decisions at the end of the day are not necessarily personal. A lot of times, stuff like that is just purely just because there's a better fit out there.
Yeah. You can't put a square peg in a round hole. Like I know that's so cliche, but it's true. Like I play a lot of 90s country, but I also play a lot of like 90s rock and pop punk, and like that's the scene I grew up in. It was like the punk scene, the pop punk scene. So that's everything I love, and that's how I play, but I also love 90s country.
Right.
And so like I've had to learn to adjust my playing to fit that kind of style and to get more gigs down here. But there's people who told me like, hey, we love your playing. You as a person, your look, your vibe just doesn't fit what we're doing. I'm a very
green
as you can
mohawk
see,
kind of guy.
yeah, like I'm out there, and a
Yeah.
lot of people don't want that when it comes to people that aren't, the front men, or they want people to kind of stand in the back and play and do their part, and that's fine. I can do that too. Don't worry, I can. I'm very capable of doing that. But also, I understand where they're coming from when they tell me those kinds of things. I'm like, okay, like I get it. I don't fit that gig, and what would happen if I did get that gig? About 6 months later, I would realize that I don't fit that gig, and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm not fucking happy here."
Right.
So, and I know that because
Yeah,
I've done that.
it definitely goes both ways.
It
It's not
does.
it's not a one-way street at all.
Exactly. Yeah. And, I've realized a lot about myself just over the past couple of years, just it being Nashville. Naturally, you're surrounded with a lot of country music, and I'm a kid from the South. Like, I love country music, but I also don't feel like I have the aesthetic or the vibe of being a country bass player, at least just career wise. I love playing country music.
You're like, I can do it if I have to.
Yeah, but I feel really blessed that, the areas that I work in are much more in like the pop and soul and funk worlds, just because like that's those are the genres I grew up playing, and the ones that really drew me to just want to play music and make music
Yeah.
in general. And so I think sometimes it just takes a while to find that niche too, and find the people that are making the music that you like and that want you to be a part of it too. But once those things start clicking, I mean, it's a great feeling.
Well, and you seem to have a pretty good head on your shoulders when it comes to that stuff. Like, you coming here, you already knew where your love was and what you love doing and kind of where you fit as a player. You just wanted to come here to be a better player. And there's a lot of cats that come here and they're like, they just want as many gigs as they can. So they're playing every single gig they're getting, and they're just not fitting, and they don't know why. And
that was more my take on it. I came here and I wanted to be everything for everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
And that screwed up everything.
That's
for me.
literally where I was going to. I was going to say, Bobby and I had that talk a couple of times where I was like, dude, you can't be everybody's player. It's never going to happen. Nobody is. I don't care who you are. You're not going to be everybody's player, because you're either going to outshine somebody else, or you're just not going to fit the vibe with something. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
Find where you fit, and then if you just work with that group and that circle, then your circle is going to get bigger.
Exactly.
Your connections are going, because those are the people that you want to be with.
Yes.
Surround yourself with the people you want to be with is
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, I've been lucky
best.
since those conversations. I've found a handful of people that I feel like I really enjoy playing music with. I don't think I've found my spot necessarily, where it's just like, all right, this is my section, these are my people.
Right.
But I'm getting so much closer than I was before.
Yeah. And I think that's also, I think that's always the goal, is just to get, is just to find where we feel most at home doing this. I think that, I also want to say that I think that it's really important not to tie that to your self-worth or your self-image too, because I think I think a lot of people, myself included, have struggled, with just being like, oh man, like I didn't end up getting
Do
this.
I actually suck at this?
Exactly. Like it's so easy to tie it to just like, your self-worth as a person, as a musician. When it's a lot of times just, purely business. Yeah, it's a really special feeling finding your people and finding that community that really speaks to you musically and artistically. And while I feel like it's always kind of, an ongoing search of finding what exactly that looks like, because the journey is so I've used the word singular a lot. But I really do think that, this line of work, everyone's path is so individualized.
Yeah.
And there's not really a path in the music industry or, being a creative that is exactly like someone else's. It is.
No, it's much less a ladder to the top as it is a rock wall.
Yes.
and you have to find your own route.
And that's one of the things that I've loved about this podcast is like we've got to sit down and listen to everybody's stories. And while we all kind of somewhat have a similar goal, everybody's journey is so different. There's some similarities, the things that have happened, but everybody's journey is so different. Everything that everybody does is different. Nobody has the exact same journey, and you never will. Like that's fucking impossible. But being able to find your people and who you fit with creatively, artistically is going to help you better mentally, and it's going to have your career, you're going to have a longer career out of it than just trying to come here and play gigs, you know? And I'm not just talking about Broadway. I'm just talking about people in general. Like just trying to come here and I get it. If you want to come here and play with as many people you can until you find where you fit, I get that. Like if you're new to town and you're like, well, I'm just going to play with everybody I can, because that's what I did. And then I started to find the people that worked, and then I started to grow my circle. You kind of did it a little bit of the opposite, complete opposite. But yeah, I mean, if
the
you
idea
can,
is still the same.
yeah,
If
you can find your people, that's going to grow your circle
Right.
and your career so much more than just comparing yourselves to others and trying to get as many gigs as you can.
100%. And I think, I think being new to any industry town or any, circle of musicians or creatives, I think just as a general policy in starting out, I don't think it's ever a bad thing to say yes to as many opportunities as you can. But I think getting to a point where you don't have to say yes to every opportunity.
You shouldn't be doing that when you've been here for 10 years. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
exactly. Yes.
fine, do that the first.
unless it's slow season.
Unless you're a Broadway player on slow season, that's different.
So I'm saying yes. Period.
But I want to jump back because you're talking about college and how you went to school to become the best bass player you could, and you were learning different genres and artists and so forth. You said something about all these bass lines that you learned. Do you happen to have like a favorite bass line of all time? Is there something that like it's just it's a lick that you just love?
Oh my gosh.
I know that it's like asking for somebody's favorite song.
Right.
I know.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. I think that man, I think my brain just immediately this probably feels like a basic answer in some ways, but I think my brain just goes straight to Motown. I think if you listen to those bass lines from James Jamerson and Bob Babbitt and Wilton Felder, Bob Babbitt personally being one of my favorite bass players of all time. He played on songs like Midnight Train to Georgia and Signed, Sealed, Delivered. And I don't know if I could really name a specific bass line, but definitely I think just anything in that Motown catalog, just that bass playing just in the grand scheme of things was so unique.
I
hit
agree.
Songs.
I agree.
And just the way they were able to craft those lines with such, this unique identity to them is just really inspiring.
Well, I think at that time, like bass was really starting to be looked at as not so much just like a backing instrument, but could be somewhat more of a lead instrument without being the lead instrument. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
'Cause like, yeah, dude, all that Motown stuff is just grew. Like, I remember Motown bass lines more than I'll ever remember any other instrument line. Honestly, like that's what drives that music.
Yeah, those are definitely the ones that stick in my head the most. I'll try to give more of a specific answer though in terms of what maybe I'm currently listening to. I found myself listening to a lot of the band Jamiroquai lately.
Dude, I went through a huge phase with them in 2017, I think.
Yeah. And their first bass player, Stuart Zinder, a lot of those early bass lines on those first few albums, especially Emergency on Planet Earth, I just love his playing. It's crazy to me that he was still in his teens at the time, I'm pretty sure, when he was doing all that stuff. But one of their first hit songs is a song called Too Young to Die. And for some reason, that bass line has just been just an absolute earworm to me over the past couple weeks. Just that boom, boom, doom, 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 doom. Just something about it. It's just that simple but effective approach. And Stuart Zender is just his playing is just a masterclass in funk bass, in my opinion. So, yeah, I'll say as of right now in this moment, I'd say "Too Young to Die," Jamiroquai. Give it a listen if you are unfamiliar.
I am familiar with the song. I do like it. Like I said, I did like a deep dive of them back in like 2017, and because that's when I was like transitioning towards Broadway and trying to learn other music and just different bass lines and not playing the same 4 fucking chords over and over and over.
Sure, yeah.
And I don't remember who it was that introduced me to him because it wasn't my style of music. I didn't listen to a lot of Motown and stuff like that. But it might have been Andrew Shaver. One of my friends was like, "You need to listen to these guys." And I'm like, "All right."
Oh yeah.
And I just got stuck.
It's a trip, man. It's a trip. It's a whole rabbit hole.
Oh yeah.
Of, I think they called the style some like acid jazz or something like that. Some kind of like crazy like subgenre name for it, but yeah, the Jamiroquai rabbit hole is deep, and there's a lot of good music coming from that band. So yeah,
and you can dissect that shit all day. Like
all day.
You'd listen to a song 20 times. You'd be like, "Wait, I didn't hear that. Wait, go back."
Yeah.
It's so
what is he
good.
actually playing?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude. Like there were times where I was like slowing the songs down to like hear it better. Like, yeah, their stuff is stupid good.
Feels like it changes like every 10 listens. It's like, no,
Right.
this is definitely not what he played 4 listens ago.
Oh yeah.
All right, so you came here for college. So was Belmont, was that like where you wanted to go to school, or did you have other options you were looking at?
I was definitely looking at a couple other places. I think I was just kind of looking at like the big names in music schools. So like I was looking at Berkeley for a while up in Boston. Was looking at NYU for a little bit. Was looking at USC Thornton out in California. But I think Belmont was the closest in proximity to me growing up. I grew up in Clemson, South Carolina, so it's probably like a 5 or 6 hour shot to Nashville.
Yeah.
And also I already had family here. I have some family in the surrounding areas. Like I have some family in Hendersonville and Pleasant View and Gallatin. And I had a few family friends that were already kind of working in the industry here that were like, "You should really check out this place. I think it'd be a good fit for you." And
so it just kind of made more sense.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was super high on my list until I came to Nashville to visit family, and we kind of squeezed in a visit to the school. And I was about 16, I think, and yeah, just it was one of those things where, like I said about picking up the bass for the first time, there was just something that clicked.
Just felt right.
I think just sitting in that room, just kind of listening to like the general overview of like what their music department did and what their goal was and like what kind of, education they offered. I was just sitting there like, yes,
and it's a beautiful university too. Like
it is.
That helps.
Beautiful compact campus. You see everybody, all the time. It's you run into
it's
friends all
not
the
a
time.
huge campus. Proximity wise, it's pretty, like you said, compact.
Yeah, it's so for any listeners who are unfamiliar, it's Belmont University is essentially like Vanderbilt University's neighboring school. They're like 5 or 6 blocks apart. It's a much smaller private institution, and it's a school that is mostly well known for their music business programs. Which I was not a music business student. I was a commercial music student, which there's it kind of gets into the weeds when you start getting into like the discrepancies of like all the different like music and like entertainment majors and branches of study that you can get into there, but the school is mostly known for its music business and arts programs. So yeah, but I loved my time there. You know,
So when you went for that visit, you were like, "This is where I want to go to school."
Yeah.
From that point, you pretty much had your mind made up.
It became my number one very quickly.
Okay.
Became my number one very quickly. Not that I ruled everything else out at that point, but I think it very much became my priority.
All right. So fast forward, you graduate, you move here, like right after graduation, the following year, came to school here.
Yes.
And got into school, did the whole school thing. Did you start once you started going to school here, and you were like, let's say, a year in, were you like playing with other people, starting to branch out into the music community out here?
Oh, definitely. So anyone that is gone to Belmont specifically or a music school will tell you that there is definitely like at Belmont they kind of call it like the Belmont bubble, but there is definitely like very much like a music culture that lives inside of the university itself that does not really reach into the real outside industry, kind of like right outside there. And a lot of folks that I talked to at the onset very much told me it was important to get experiences from outside that Belmont bubble as much as I could, because that was, those were the connections that were going to be the long lasting ones. And so from the time that I got there, I really tried my best to just meet folks who were like-minded to me and that really wanted to just kind of like take chances both inside and outside of the school. And within that year, I had a few steady gigs going. I had started doing my first like out of state and travel gigs at that point.
Nice.
Remember my first big one. I have a good friend of mine from college named Carter Faith. She's actually now an up and coming country artist. Signed with I think she just signed with Universal this past year.
Nice.
But amazing artist, amazing songwriter, and but I think before she had any kind of pub deal or anything like that, she got asked to fly out to Florida to open for Cole Swindell out there.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
And we were all freshmen, and so it was me and three of my buddies, Jackson Anderson, and Nico Tripodis, who were both amazing guitar players that are still active in Nashville's music scene, and Andrew Stone, who's an amazing drummer who is actually active up in New York now.
That's cool.
And that was our first gig, and we flew out, and they put us up, and that was like our first like big. That was kind of like
that was your big introduction into that world.
Yes, and that was our introduction to being like, oh my gosh, like I can like travel with my friends and play music and like,
and this is your job.
Yeah, and like this is my job, and they're gonna like pay me to do this. Like, oh my gosh. And from that point on, I was like, okay, I want to do this as much as I can, and yeah, I think the first year or two of college was really just trying to reinforce that and just build a good rep with the folks around me as much as I could, because I think it's really, I think it's really clear to tell, when playing with folks, like which people like kind of have that it factor.
Mm-hmm.
And being at a music school, like there were definitely like friends of mine that I made where I was like, yeah, like you got it. Like, and I like, and just like, not only were they great musicians, but they were just great people and folks that I wanted to surround myself with, because I knew that just being around them would better me as a person, would better me as a musician. And, like I said, just the community and the network that I built and that I became a part of is like my biggest takeaway from Belmont. And so
you mentioned it factor. Have you ever tried to explain to somebody that just doesn't understand that concept what that is?
I don't think I've ever had to explain it to anybody, fortunately.
So I've had to, because my girlfriend just doesn't understand that as a concept.
Sure.
Her mind very much works in like tangible data.
Right.
And so like there's no such thing as a it factor. There's a reason, and you have to quantify the reason.
Sure.
And I'm like, no, like this
No.
guy's better, but you want to watch this guy. That's the it factor.
Yeah.
Like that's the only way to describe it.
It's a very much well, I don't know if unspoken is the right way to phrase it, but there is definitely something that you can't exactly
Mm-hmm.
quantify about seeing some people play, but it just the reaction every time
Yeah.
is just like, holy shit, like this, like they've got
If
it,
you can tell a
know?
boring ass story and everybody's interested, you've got it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But kind of, I guess, going back to what I was saying, just really trying to take advantages of whenever I got an opportunity to work outside of, the school's bubble, I'd try to take full advantage of, as big or as small as it felt. And through that, I feel like I've made lifelong friends and lifelong connections, that, a lot of them to this day, I still play with. So,
I mean that's the method right there, is the connections. Like
exactly.
that's what our business is.
Yes.
We're a business of connections.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whether it's connecting to an audience, connecting to a player, connecting to an artist, like it's all about connection.
Connecting to YouTube.
To learn how to do this stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right, so let's fast forward a little bit. You get out of school, you're
Sure.
playing bass. What was like your first major, like, oh, I'm gigging with this artist, I'm touring with this artist, this is my first like consistent job?
I think I think there's moments like that have happened a couple times now. I guess I'll start with like something that's more local, and then I'll kind of move on to like the first time I like really started touring and being like, oh, like this is something that feels like it's getting consistent and everything like that. But there was there's an artist that is now a really good friend of mine, named Claire Ernst, who I went to college with. She's an amazing pop, R&B, neo soul artist.
Okay.
If you don't know who she is, please check her music out. She is phenomenal. And I was a huge fan of hers all throughout the first part of college, and I had a lot of mutual friends that played in her band. And so there was probably a good part of a year where like I was every time my friends would be like, oh yeah, we're rehearsing with Claire, I'd be like, yo, can I like just like please come and like just like hang out?
Can I
and just,
sit in the
like,
corner?
just
Let me
like
sit in the corner.
like just sit in with everybody and everything like that. And then and yeah, like ended up meeting Claire and becoming friends with her there. And there was one session where she was coming in to sing and I was coming in to play bass, and it was the first time that she had really, I guess, heard me play. And after that session, I just started to get a call or a text from her just being like, hey, do you want to come play bass with me on this, or do you want to like come record this with me and stuff like that? And that was the first time I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm getting to play with an artist I really admire, and very blessed to say that like she's still a great friend. We write songs together, and I still play bass for her, and we're actually going on tour together next week. So
Hell yeah.
but I think the first time with touring that I felt like, oh, there's like something that's like starting to get the ball rolling, I started playing with a guy named Noah Thompson, who I don't remember which season of American Idol he won, but he's an American Idol winner from a couple seasons back. And just through some connections I had at Belmont that were managing him at the time, I was able to spend a lot of the summer and the fall of 2023, I think. Yeah, 2023. Touring with him for the majority of that summer, and it was an absolute blast. I met so many great musicians. Noah is just such a nice guy and such a great guy to work with, and that was the first time that I really was like, okay, I feel like the ball is rolling. I feel like, you know, stuff's really going on, past just like picking up gigs and,
Right.
and just like filling in holes in my schedule where I can, like, this feels consistent. And then from there and this kind of bleeds over into the past year and now in 2025. The past year or so, I've started touring with a friend of mine named Molly Grace, who also she's putting out a lot of amazing new music right now. I've been playing with her probably going on 4 years now. Another college friend of mine makes awesome pop and funk music. We started touring with her last year. She went on her first tour last February. In fact, the tour that I'm going on next week is actually her first, not her first headlining tour, but her first headlining tour of this year. And Claire Ernst is actually opening. So I'll be kind of
on stage all night.
On stage all night. Yeah. Performing double duty.
That's such a great scenario though, to be on stage with both those bands. And it also is such a great testament to you as a person and as a player to have both these artists trust you to be their bass player on this tour, to support both of them. Like that says a lot. It really does. I don't know if you realize that, but it does. It says a lot.
Well, thank you. I gotta say, I'm very fortunate. They're both amazing people and amazing artists in their own right. And being able to have played and perform with them both as long as I have, and seeing how far they've come already, is really special. And I do feel like I just, in talking about touring, I want to mention one more artist. And I did kind of say that, I don't really feel like playing in the country world a lot of times is necessarily like
your spot,
like my spot, like my aesthetic. But I spent a large part of 2024 touring with an artist named Graham Barham, who's kind of a big rising artist in the country world right now. And I got to tour with Graham for the majority of 2024 alongside two of my good friends, Stanton Langley, who's an amazing guitarist and recording artist in his own right, and my friend Patrick Prophet, who's an amazing drummer, artist, producer, and actually plays drums on all of my stuff. And that was some of the greatest education I ever got as an artist and just as a touring performer. Excuse me, that I ever could have gotten just being with those three guys a lot last year. I'm proud of all the success that they're seeing.
Well, I apologize about that. We had just a fucking explosion. Not really. My hard drive just decided to crash the last time we were recording this with Gert. So
things went south real fast.
I thought we were going to have to re-record the whole episode, but hopefully we don't have to. So those of y'all that are watching the video, you can clearly see that Bobby and Gert are in different attire. No, they did not have a wardrobe change. It is literally, 4 days later?
3 or 4 days later.
4 days later.
I was considering wearing the same thing. I took a picture of myself just to make sure.
I wasn't that worried about it.
So, we apologize. That has never actually happened to us before. That was the first.
Of all the technical difficulties, that's been the most difficult.
And once again, I spent about 5 or 6 hours doing research on YouTube trying to figure out how to fix it, and I think I did. So we're gonna go ahead and try to wrap this up.
Let's do it.
Yep,
thanks for sticking along.
Yeah. Thanks for coming back.
Of course.
Yeah, dude, seriously, I know this is kind of a pain in the ass to have to come back just to record for 15 minutes.
I mean, historically, it's been hard to get people to come in the first time.
Yeah, so the fact that you came twice, you are on my good graces, my friends. I appreciate you.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me. I'm stoked to chat with y'all, and yeah.
All right, so where were we?
Well, we were just about to ask about your song that you have coming out, and It was supposed to be coming out next Friday, but now last Friday has passed, and now next Friday is this Friday, so it's coming out Friday.
It is coming out Friday, yes. My first single of the year, Yes Man, That's the name of the song.
And it is a jam sandwich.
Thank
I
you.
love it.
Thank you. Yeah, for fans of funk rock music and those two styles coming together, and for fans of just petty ass songs, this is the song for you.
And I like both. I will be honest.
Yes.
Like that's my jam, and that's my jam.
Absolutely. Yeah, but it will be out this Friday, February 21st. If you're listening before this Friday, you can pre-save it right now. Just go to the link in any of my social media. It's just my name, Gert Arwood. And if it's already past Friday, what the hell are you doing listening to this? Go listen to Yes Man. It's out.
You can say that
Yeah.
since we're at the end of the podcast.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. You can say that now. It's okay. I won't shun you for that. That's fair. That's a good plug. I like it.
Right? But no, we have a podcast playlist on Spotify.
Yes.
So as soon as it drops, I'll jump on and add that to
Oh,
the
lovely.
playlist.
Wonderful.
I don't know that anybody listens to the playlist, but it does exist.
I would also like, could we make that for Apple Music too? Because I'd like to have one on Apple Music as well.
I mean, sure.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Apple Music. I don't have
Oh,
an
yeah,
Apple
you're-
account, so I don't know how to do that. But we can figure it out.
Okay, I guess I'll do that.
I also
I'll just go, like, I'll literally just copy the Spotify one, put
Yeah.
it the Apple.
also kind of need to go back through like our last handful and make sure like none of those artists have music I was supposed to put on, because if we don't talk about it on the podcast, I don't know I'm supposed to do it.
We'll just go look at all of our podcasts, see who the artists are, and if we have them on a podcast, just add their music to the playlist.
I will do that.
Yeah.
And if
Yes.
you're an artist and you've been on the podcast and you didn't tell me which one to put in, and there's one that you want specifically, shoot me a message, because I can do that.
Put the least played one.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
I'll put a different artist and just like that has a similar name.
Yeah.
But yeah, tell us a little bit about the song. Like
Yeah. So
you mentioned Petty. You wanna kind of go through what it's about and what you were thinking and what was going on.
I will. So I wrote Yes Man about, I want to say 3 years ago. So the song I've been sitting on for a long time. It is about a situation that happened in 2021 where I had a childhood best friend who at the start of that year told me that he was now in a relationship with my ex.
That's always what you want to hear.
Oh yeah, and yeah, just did not go about it in a super courteous or respectful way. It was kind of just like a minute-long phone call, just like felt very much like, hey, like I'm going to this, but while I have time, just wanted to tell you, and then just drop this huge bomb.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me a few times.
How's your mom banging your ex?
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah, and so yeah, that I remember that specific moment because I was just kind of like, okay, I kind of need to protect my heart here, and I actually talked to neither of them since that day, since that conversation. And yeah, I obviously had a lot of emotions and feelings toward that, and felt like I had lost two people that I had really cared about, and Yes Man was kind of the petty and angry and frustrated side of what I felt, particularly towards this friend.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was very cathartic, but the song took a minute to kind of get rolling. I had a few drafts of this song, and it kind of went through some drafts of just feeling like way too harsh, and then some that just like I feel like didn't get the point across enough. And this song has a co-writer, one of my best friends, Addie Barrett, who is also an artist and one of the best songwriters in town that I know. And like my favorite songs I've ever written, I've co-written with her. And when I was like getting to kind of redraft it, I had a few lines that I really liked that worked. That kind of became like the verses of the song.
Mm-hmm.
And I called Addie and I was like, hey, I I need your help getting this over the finish line. And Addie came over, and within like 30 minutes we had the hook.
Nice.
And just, you love when a good thing can come together like that. So shout out to my friend Addie. She's the best.
So I haven't listened to any of your stuff yet. I just haven't had a chance to.
Yeah.
But I have the next couple of days off, and now hearing the story behind this song, I definitely want to go listen to it because I've been in that exact situation.
Oh, yeah. No, I'll share the link with you before I leave today, just since it's not out.
Oh yeah, that's one that's coming out. Yeah.
Yes. But no, it's a doozy. It's there's kind of a whole backstory and a lot of lore behind it, but yeah, I know that this is not an isolated situation. I know this is an unfortunate scenario that has happened to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just hoping that this is a song that provides some amount of catharsis and some sort of like fun, unspoken,
sort
of petty yes.
I got a little question. Are you still friends with that friend?
Oh no, we have not talked since that conversation.
See, so. I made a mistake, and I stayed friends with that person that did that to me for like another 12 years, and
and like
not a good idea.
No.
Listen, I mean, like I've definitely been told that like I'm too nice before, and I really do like, wish no ill will, but also just like I think just at this point those are not relationships and friendships that at that point I felt any desire to continue further.
Yeah, no ill will does not mean that I have to participate in your life.
Yeah. See, I felt, I was like, well, I've known this guy forever. I've known him my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've got to stay. We can work through this. We need to stay friends. And no, it was not a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
He did it to me in high school. And then after they split up and we were in college and everything, every girl that I went after, he immediately went after. Like, either while I was pursuing them or after we were done dating. It was so weird. So weird.
That's not a friendship at that point.
Yeah.
Like,
well, look, now
the respect has to be mutual.
It took me up until this last year to finally step away from this friendship. I mean, it was like a 20-something year friendship, and I finally just walked away. I was like, I'm done. I'm not entertaining this anymore. It's not healthy. And man, I wish I walked away sooner because, yeah.
No, it's a tough situation for sure, and it really fucking sucks saying goodbye to a relationship of that caliber, because like this dude was like one of my best friends for a decade. And that's tough when you feel really devastated and betrayed by someone's decision. But I feel like.
But at the end of the day, they made that decision knowing how it would affect you.
Yeah, and
that's all I need to know.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, they just did not go about it in a way that was courteous or respectful to me as their friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I at the end of the day, like I don't regret the decision I made to just kind of move on. Just because my life has just really gotten better without.
And I mean, when this song skyrockets you into stardom, you can call him up and be like, "Hey, thanks, bro."
No, honestly, great material. Great material.
Do you know who the band Something Corporate is?
Oh, I love Something.
I don't.
Okay. Clearly, I haven't heard your song, so I can't compare it. I was going to ask you if it's kind of the vibe of one of their songs, but since you have not heard it, or not heard them, go check out their song "Fuck You, Jordan."
Okay.
It might just be Jordan, but I think it's "Fuck You, Jordan."
We'll do.
But it's
I'd say this song is really riffy. Like I said, I make rock music with like tinges of funk and soul in there. And so this song was actually really inspired by listening to like old, like very like riff based funk groups like Rufus and Chaka Khan and Parliament Funkadelic, stuff like that. And the riff kind of just was like the fundamental part of the song at first. The lyrics, like I said, kind of like I cycled through a few versions of lyrics for this tune, but it ultimately landed on the fact that, you know, I can sleep easier at night knowing that I'm not a yes man.
Yeah.
You know.
I got you.
And
Sorry, real quick. The song is If You See Jordan.
If You See Jordan.
And it's with the letter C, If You See Jordan.
Cool.
Anyways, sorry, continue.
No, you're good. But yeah, and I think the lyrics are a lot less of a diss as much, or not as much of a diss as they are just kind of deconstructing what I see in not only him, but also my ex, and just the fact that I kind of just saw that relationship wherever it was going being more of him just as a yes man and a bit of a lapdog to whatever she said. And, you know, I was like, listen, this sucks. And, you know, if I'm wrong, then, you know, color me impressed. But, you know, like, I'll sleep easier at night knowing that that is not my dynamic. So
what is your favorite line in the song?
This song has some of my favorites, so it's kind of tough. But I love doing this in tunes, but the last chorus has like a little modified section of it. So
I love modified choruses.
So the last chorus is a modified chorus. Usually the line in the second half of the chorus is desperation or human nature. Either way, she's got a hold on you. Second fiddle is your nomenclature, always option number 2. Which I already like that lyric a lot, but I had an alternate one for a while that became the modified chorus line, and that's probably my favorite. And that lyric is, can't believe I couldn't see it. Oh my God, you sunk so low, but to me you're 6 feet under, so that might give you room to grow. So
Dude, spitting over here.
Damn, son. Okay,
So,
I see you, bro.
Yeah. So I don't know. I that was kind of like the one lyric that I really had in there that was like it kind of punched below the belt a little bit.
The more you talk about this song, the more like I want to hear it so bad.
Oh yeah. It's one of my favorites, and like I said,
look, I might send this to my friend after it's released. You know,
Dude, and again, the best part is it grooves hard. Like you want to move, and like it's a bop.
Thank you, man. I
want to hear it.
we'll have a listening party after.
Yes,
this.
right. Yes, I'm so excited now.
But yeah, I like I said, I wrote this in early 2022, and you know, I've been sitting on it for a long time because I don't know, some part of me knew that just like this song in particular, I was like, this one feels really special. And even if like it, you know, even if it doesn't do like a ton of numbers for me, like I do want it to be like a starting point of, you know, my solo artist project, because like I love this song and I think it's a good representation of the sound that I ultimately want to make. But yeah, I hope that folks that have been, I guess, kind of hurt in that way and scorned in that way, I guess, can kind of, you know, see themselves in it and just have a funky, petty tune to rock out to.
So your ex-best friend,
Yes.
is he a musician? Are we gonna get a reply to your diss track?
Oh my God. Got a Kendrick Drake situation going on. Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
So he is a musician. He is not an artist though.
Not yet. Not yet.
Right.
Credit where credit is due though. He is a damn good saxophone player. But to my knowledge, not an artist. So I don't know if I'll be hearing anything from that end.
That's fair. Only in it for the sax.
Yeah. Which also one thing about this song, there is a sax solo in it. So shout out to my friend Jack Warren, who I mentioned earlier in this podcast.
So you write a song about a sax player, and then you have a different sax player ripping a solo.
This is my level of pettiness.
I love everything that's happening right now.
Yes.
Hey man,
it keeps getting better, man.
Right?
I don't know. I I think I might have a little bit of like psychological warfare just going on and just like in my whole crafting process. But I don't know.
I'm here for it.
I I don't know. I think I could easily like just scream expletives and just like, curse their name all day. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I would rather write something that kind of like sticks and like kind of just lingers for a bit. And I don't know, that might be kind of some diabolical energy that I'm on, but I don't know.
Being 6 feet down with some room to grow. Fuck, man.
Right?
Like, damn.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've got this one coming out. You've mentioned you've got more coming out the rest of this year. What kind of timeline are we looking at?
So right now, I am not sure what the ultimate goal of the group of songs I'm putting out this year is. It might all be one project. It might be two smaller projects. It might just be a bunch of singles, but I do have a lot more music coming this year. This is kind of the year where I was like, you know what? I've spent so long, like showing up for other artists and like contributing to their stuff. And while I love that part of, my career and my journey, I kind of decided, that this was the year where I was going to prioritize myself in the same way. And so, there will be a lot more cool music coming from me this year. And I'm really excited to share it. So
well, I'm a fan. Kyle's gonna be a fan.
I'm already a fan. Like I just your attitude and everything and what the content of the song, and I haven't heard it. I'm already a fucking fan. Absolutely.
Well, thank you. I'm very excited. And and when Yes Man comes out, and if you like what you hear, there will be a few more tunes coming in the spring, good batch more coming in the fall, and would love for you to stick around.
Do you already have like potential release dates? Are these songs that are already finished, or this is just stuff that you're kind of in the works of doing?
So I have a few songs that are already done. I am going into the studio again next month to finish up a couple more.
Okay.
But I do have release dates already for a couple more of them. And I'll leave it at that just to give it some mystery.
That's fine. I was just curious if there what the plan trajectory was.
Right.
Here.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
So,
but there is a plan. I'll leave it at that. There is a plan.
We will definitely be following along with your journey and
absolutely.
seeing where it goes. I'm really excited for Yes Man. I'm really excited to go out here and listen to it before you guys. So, ha ha world. I get to hear it before the rest of y'all. Ha ha. By the time you're hearing this, I have already heard the song.
Oh yeah.
Well, depending on when they're listening, so did a lot of other people.
Fuck you.
If they want to follow along on your journey, where can they follow you?
So I'm on all social platforms at Gert Arwood, so GertArwood. I'm posting on there pretty much every day, just posting my own original music, posting bass content, posting stuff with my dog. I'm a proud dog owner. So
What kind of dog you got?
I have a Chinese crested, which is a pretty uncommon breed.
I was like, honestly, I don't. That's
I don't
not
know
a
what that
dog
is.
I know. Yeah.
It's a tiny little guy, which their unique quirk is that they are partially hairless, and so they have like a whole hairdo. They have like this magnificent like hairdo, like hairstyle, and they have like almost like leg warmer type hair on their legs and their tails, but their whole torso is completely hairless.
Interesting.
And so,
Wish I could say that.
So when my girlfriend and I started dating a couple years back,
My bad.
you're good. But
God damn it, Bobby. I'm so glad there's not a camera on me right now.
oh, that's good.
We might keep it that way, that you're just always on camera and I'm not. We might just keep it this way.
Oh man.
Oh man.
All right, what's your dog's name?
His name is Bao Bao.
Bow Bow?
Yes.
I love that.
Little Bow Bow.
Yeah, spelled BAO, like the Balbo. And yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. My girlfriend CJ, when we started dating a couple years back, she had already had him for a couple years at the time, and yeah, now that we're living together, I'm a very proud dog dad. I post him all the time.
Fuck yeah.
And so yeah, for any Chinese crested content, bass content, or just original music, funk rock content, I got you. So.
Hell yeah.
That's a hell of a sales pitch.
Great dude. Great
Yeah.
dude. Gert Arwood, everybody.
Yay.
Yeah. Thank y'all for having me.
I need to get a board so I can have buttons to push for like clap tracks and
Right.
shit.
We'll
Anyways,
golf claps.
well, thanks for coming on, man. Thanks for coming back in here on Sunday and doing with this. I know it was a pain. You saw the crash and had,
Oh yeah.
so I appreciate your patience and being such a good sport about it. It really does mean a lot to us.
We
It
normally
does.
don't fuck up this bad.
Yeah, normally the stuff that fucks up isn't on the show. So
Absolutely. But I mean, listen, shit happens anywhere and everywhere. But I really appreciate y'all thinking of me and yeah, giving me a chance to chat with y'all just about music and my new stuff. And yeah, this was a blast. Thanks for having me on.
yeah, dude,
Dude,
we're
thanks for doing it. We had a lot of fun.
we're really looking forward to it. All right, everybody. Thank y'all so much for listening. Bobby, where can they find you at?
I am at Story of Bob or Story of Bob Music everywhere.
Everywhere. And yeah, you still can't find me. Sorry.
Nope.
I ain't
gone.
on this. I'm gone. My dad actually called me the other day. He's like, "Hey, I heard your mom and your brother were talking. Said you got rid of social media." I was like, "Yeah, I'm fucking done." He goes, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Why?" And I said, "Honestly, it's just too much. I'm tired of dealing with it. It's stressing me out. It's pointless. I don't need it in my life." He goes, "Oh, so you finally decided to listen to me, huh?" And I said, "Yeah, it only took me fucking 10 years."
The only downside is anytime I'm scrolling through videos and I'm like, Kyle.
Yeah.
I missed that part.
Yeah, a lot of people have messaged me like, "Hey, I've been trying to send you video. Did you block me?" And I'm like, "No, I got rid of social media. I'm sorry."
Kinda. I blocked the world.
Yeah, I don't. If the world fucking blows up and dies, I just let it happen. I don't want to know.
Walk outside and go, huh. Okay.
And I wake up one morning, my roof is gone. I'm like, "Oh well,
That's a
I guess
thing.
this is where we're at, huh?"
Just another day.
Right.
Thank y'all so much for tuning in and listening to us bullshit and talk. We greatly appreciate it. We would still be doing it even if y'all weren't listening, because y'all weren't listening at the beginning. So
I was gonna say I was doing it when they were listening.
we would do this regardless. But it means a lot to us that y'all tune in every week and comment. I see that our numbers are going up on YouTube, so please make sure that you're going and watching these on YouTube. They will be put out either the day of the show or just a day or two afterwards, just depending on how much I've got going on, because video editing takes a little bit longer.
Right. We also have the TikTok out.
Yeah,
So
we do.
we've
We do
got
have the
videos there
TikTok, so
and more
please,
coming.
please go follow us for Nashville for Nobodies. The number 4, Nashville for Nobodies. What? Not, why are you doing a number 1 over there? Oh, you were counting up. Okay.
I do that a lot. That's like my whole profession.
That's all you do. Like, Bobby doesn't know how to count past 4. Don't let him lie to you. Look, I've tested him, and he gets real frustrated, starts throwing things, shoots Nerf guns at me. Wait,
Wait
what?
a minute.
We talking about me? Anyways, okay, I'm done fucking talking. I've talked enough, guys. Thank y'all so much, and until next time, AMF.
Bicycle. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening to the podcast. We have a great time putting it on for you, so we really appreciate all of the listens. If you have any questions or want to reach out to us, we are on Facebook and Instagram. So if you just search Nashville for Nobodies podcast, we will pop up and you can interact with us that way. We also have some more options coming up in the future for interaction, so that'll be a whole lot of fun. So as always, it's never too late to tip your bartender, and please don't forget to tip your band.